Full transparency. So this is the first time that the Most High y'all had me actually prepare for scripture study a whole week in advance. Usually he'll give me the message closer, but it's a message that we need to hear. So he had me prepare it last week where he didn't let me do anything else besides just sit down on Saturday and Sunday and work on the message until it was done because it was for this week. So it's an alignment to what we need in this season for us to understand for why it's important to be in unity with Yah versus in unity with the world, because the world will drain us versus the kingdom of Yah and the people of Yah are going to also pour into us. Where when you're around, Izzy actually talked to me about this, I think it was like maybe 3 weeks ago, where when you're around light, light enhances light. But when you're in darkness, they're drawing in the light because they need that light. This message is in alignment with everything that we are going to be focusing on today. But then also to touch on the 6 things that she's mentioned that Yah hates, just for the recap, everybody, those 6 things, and even a 7 is reposted to him, is a proud look, so pride, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that creates wicked plans, feet that run swiftly to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and then one who spreads discord or rumors among brothers and sisters. Proverbs 6, 16 through 19. It's really, we're in a season of, so he's having us self-evaluate ourselves. So that's why a lot of these conversations in this study for this month is going to be about reflecting on ourselves and what we're doing when it comes to Yah. So it's not as a like a Yah wants us to feel horrible about things, but it's about like, okay, I'm telling you what I want you to hear so that you can evaluate yourself to be better, to achieve excellence, because we don't want to just give Yah our good enough. We want to give him our excellent and first fruits. First, I just want to say all praise to the Most High. It's gonna be a good message. I know we're in alignment with the Most High, and that we're moving forward. And we have to just basically listen and be obedient to the Ruach, and to just talk a little bit about that too, like what you were talking about, people who are in our lives that just drain our spiritual batteries. Just telling myself a little bit. I've had someone in my life too who has been like that, where I've known them for about 10, 12 years. But they have always been a toxic drain on me, to where it's always taking up my energy, always taking up my time, always taking up them needing constant attention, even though they said they want to be better. They say they want to be like how I operate within kingdom, but never taking those steps that they actually need to take to get there. And so this past week, out of being obedient to Yah for when he was talking to me on last weekend about like what the scripture is going to be, and I was like, well, I can't really be not obedient to Yah on this and then teach people about this. And so I basically had to tell him, like, hey, like, we just can't be friends anymore. I got to cut you out of my life. I told him, like, it's nothing that you particularly did in the sense of like you harmed me, but it is where it's like you're not helping me go to where I need to go, and you're being a hindrance to my work with Yah. So that way it was kind of just like I had to be obedient. So I'm just telling myself about that, because sometimes it will take that when it comes to people that we are interacting with, or working with, or yep, mosquitoes. He's just put in the chat, mosquitoes. Yep. And so we have to just be mindful, and I don't want to go too far into that. I'm going to talk about that in the lesson today, but yeah, sometimes it will suck, because it may be people that we've known for years. It could be something that we grew up with because they're our sibling. Could be someone that we met at work and we're cool with. It could be someone that we love and we thought we could have a marriage with them, but really they're doing more harm than good. So yeah, we just be mindful of that and just make sure that we are always turned to the Most High about, what do you want me to do, Father? Then we can dive into today's lesson. Before I talk about what we're going to be focused on today, I just want to let everybody know, for those watching, that I want to welcome you to our scripture study, where we implement iron sharpening iron and live deeper in our understanding and relationship with the Most High Yah. In our scripture study, we don't subscribe to religion, but to relationship with the Most High Yah, as we build the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, and continue our journey and to achieve excellence in the 5 elements of life, which is spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, and financial. They all can go in different orders. Spiritual is always first, but we order them that way to kind of help with repetition and memory, because we talked about before, if you repeat things, it helps you get perfect practice to become excellent. All right, so today we're going to be focusing on the United Kingdom of Yah, part 2. and our focus is strength and togetherness. But before I dive too deep into the lesson, I want to ask this is not a trick question. I just want to hear what you guys believe. What does community mean? Thank you, T. And then Yashin put in the chat a village.
Like a place you can come to where a place where it's resourceful. Yeah, resourceful. Mm-hmm. Like you can come and not just, have like family togetherness. Because I mean, overall, that's what it means to me. Like coming together as one, being able to learn from each other, be resourceful, being able to find a solution to whatever it might be, whether it's personal, business, kids, just overall coming together.
All right, thank y'all. So, like I said, y'all saying you giving your personal opinions on it, but you'd be surprised how close to the actual definition you are. And some of the words you guys use are actually the actual definition. So I'm gonna pull up the definition for what it says in the language of Paleo Hebrew, the dictionary, the etymology, and then we'll dive deeper into it, and we'll talk about the scriptures too. Like T put in the chat, you can't spell community without unity. Yep, that's when fire something. Yep. So when it comes to community in the Paleo Hebrew language, the word is kaya. And you may have seen that I bolded the Yah part in there, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the word means more than just community in the Hebrew. It means to live, to revive, to restore to life, to keep alive, to nourish up. It's a living thing. It's an animal, community, having vigor. So it's basically like the life. It's kind of like you think about lifeblood. It's like it's getting you pumped. It's getting you moving. It's getting you keep going forward. In the dictionary, in our current modern day 2024, they define it as a social group of any size whose members reside in a specific specific locality, share government, and often have a common cultural and historical heritage. So if you think about our group, we have a shared government because we're in the government of Yah. We're in the kingdom of Yah. We follow his government rules. We reside in right now United States. But even beyond that, we reside within the kingdom. So wherever the kingdom footprint is for Yah, that's where we reside, which is the whole planet. As well as heaven. So once we're in heaven, that's also his footprint. That's where we reside. And then the shared cultural and historical heritage. So we think about our own culture, the practices that we learn with the dietary laws, the keeping the Sabbath, all those different things are cultural heritage practices that we're following. But when we dive into the etymology of the word, the definition is the common people or the commonwealth. And so we talked about the commonwealth before when we talked about what does it mean to have a kingdom. And I think there's 7 things that go for a kingdom, and one of them was commonwealth. And so even the community is tied into what it means to have a kingdom. It's like we can't have a kingdom if we don't have community. But then breaking that down even further, the word comes from the Latin of communitas, which means same. And it's derived from even a different Latin word, which means communis, which means common, public, shared by all or many. And the communist word is actually 2 words put together, which means the con, which is together, and then the munus, which means either performing services or public power. So essentially it's public power together or performing services together. And you think about what we're doing, we work together to build the kingdom of Yah. We are performing services together to bring the world into his light. All right. All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So, like I said, I'm going to talk about why the Yah was bolded, because we know that's our creator's name. That's the Most High's name is Yah. Regardless of what you put at the end of it, always starts with Yah. And so it combines the kah from the Paleo Hebrew, which is defined as a tent wall of fence, separation, set apart, abdomen, belly, or womb. So that one letter means all those different things. So that means let's actually, because a lot of times in the Paleo Hebrew, they combine letters with words, they combine words together to signify what it means for Yah, or what it means for the creator, to the creator. And so the word could mean the set apart of Yah. We talk about being set apart in the kingdom a lot. It can mean the abdomen of Yah. It can mean the belly or womb of Yah. I'm not saying that Yah is a woman, but in the concept of what does a belly and womb mean, if we look at that word, a womb means the belly, the bowels, the heart, because originally the word definition for womb actually meant the heart, especially when it referred to women. The uterus, the pouch, like a kangaroo has a pouch in their front that their little Joey or their baby lives in, or it can mean the child. And so that means if we look at it that way, we can say that the community is the heart of Yah. The community is the place where y'all's children grow. And so when we pull ourselves out of community, not when he's isolating us for a season, but when we pull ourselves out of community, we're out of alignment to what the Most High actually wants for us, which is to grow together as children in his community. And when we're in community, we are in his heart. We're always in his heart in general, but when we're together in community, we're going after the things that he has for us as his heart. Then, so we have two slides of scriptures, one from the Restored Covenant or the New Testament, one's going to be from the Original Covenant or the Old Testament, and I'm going to need some readers for both slides. So please raise your hand or vocalize if you're ready to read or want to read.
Again, I say to you that if two believers on earth agree that are one mind and harmony about anything that they ask within the will of Yah, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, meeting together as my followers, I am there among them.
For just as in one physical body, we have many parts, and these parts do not all have the same function or special use. So we, who are many, are nevertheless just one body in the Messiah, and individually we are parts of one another, mutually dependent on each other. Romans 12 verses 4 through 5. And the next one is, brothers, if anyone is caught in any sin, you who are spiritual, that is, you who are responsive to the guidance of the Spirit, are to restore such a person in a spirit of gentleness, not with a sense of
superiority
or self-righteousness, keeping a watchful eye on yourself so that you are not tempted as well. Carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the requirement, the law of the Messiah. For if anyone thinks he is something special,
put on do not disturb.
Thinks he is something special, when in fact he is nothing special except in his own eyes. He deceives himself. Galatians 6, 1 through 3.
All right, so from the Restored Covenant, we can kind of see some examples of what it means to be in community, which a lot of it is talked about being one or one body. So we think about in the church, they say a lot about, oh, we're all one body, we're all one congregation. But if we really look at what does it mean for it to be a body? So we have bodies, we have our head, we have our eyes, we have our ears, we have all these parts that work together. If one of the parts in our body are dysfunctioning, like let's say you lost your sight. Well, you're now not able to operate the same way someone with sight can operate. You're now not able, if you lose your ability to speak, you can't operate in the same way someone that can speak operates. And so as a body, we look at ourselves as the body of the Most High Yah, as the body of his kingdom, we have to all function together and all work together as one to move the body forward, to move the body to do this, to move the body to do that. Because if we don't, then we're hindering what Yah has purpose for us as a group, as a community, because we're not functioning together. And so that's what we have to be mindful of. And that's why it's like, it's not just because someone may have sinned, we're not necessarily like talking about that as someone being removed, but we're talking about people who are willfully causing problems for the body. Because the body can get sick. It's like we may have someone who, like, in the sense of this, we'll say someone maybe got sick. Maybe they're not doing what they're supposed to in that moment. But that's a moment versus it's a pattern for them. And so we want to ensure that when it comes to the body, that we're all operating on one. If there is some sickness, that we support and heal that sickness. But if that sickness is now a permanent virus, like let's say it's degenerative tissue where it's going to make the eyes go blind, well, then we need to cut that piece out, or we need to remove that piece, or we need to allow Yah to do his work, which he will then remove them. But sometimes we want to hold on to those pieces. And so we have to be mindful of that too.
And the question below says, do we treat strangers, people of the world, better than we treat Yah's community? I see why you have, okay. That is one of those.
And then in the chat, British put, also, if we are gentle with others, or others in our community by helping each other, if we were to stumble on this journey of righteousness, we all got each other's back. Absolutely. For all of us, like this is our season of, like we talked about before, accounting of self. We have to account for like what's going on. It's not that we're purposely doing things. It's not that we are willfully doing things, but we operate subconsciously, which is the inside, before we operate the actions of our conscious. And so we have to account for ourselves. Like, okay, well, what am I doing that maybe isn't in alignment? It doesn't mean you're gonna be perfect by tomorrow. So I don't want everybody just like, oh, I'm gonna go send a text to everybody tomorrow, just like say how you doing. Like that's not the goal of this. The goal is like for us to say, okay, let's make a like we said, a pattern of us doing better with our community of Yah. And it can be even greater than just this group. Like maybe there are people that have been brought to you by Yah who are not in this group, but are also in the space of learning about Yah that's coming to you to learn more. Well, that same group, like, are you? They're coming to you that Yah brought them to. Like, how are your interaction with them versus your work versus the world? And so, like, we have to look at all the people that Yah has brought to us, that Yah brought to us, not that are just showing up. So just make sure you ask for discernment and who those people are. But we have to look at that and do our self-reflection and our self-accounting. I'm about to read some of the stuff that's in the chat. British, the question that she asked a while back was, how can I be a blessing to someone else? Daya said, that's deep. Then she said, then understanding when that season is over, some things aren't meant to last forever. Absolutely. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead, Daya.
I just want to add, that question, it made me think, like my mind instantly went to the church, like when I was physically in the church, and I was that person that used to just sit back and watch everything, but I knew everything that nobody thought I knew, but I'm just watching. And it was a lot of judgment, a lot of gossip, a lot of hate in the church.
Yes.
In the church, and it made me think about how many people stopped going to church because of that. And it's supposed to be a sacred place, a place where, we're supposed to come together for Yah. And it was the most, like, it was the total opposite in a sense. Like, it was the total opposite. And it was more like just going back to material, like, look what I got, look what I'm wearing. I'm on the front row, it was just like a competition type thing. And it just made me look at the church like, wow, like, at a place where we're supposed to be like the Messiah is the total opposite. And we go out in the world and treat the world way better than how we treat was supposed to be sacred, so it just made me think of that and really just evaluate everything. Like, I'm going back, like, I understand why I had the week that I had. Like, I'm understanding why, because just really analyzing everything. Like, I wanted to bring up, because I've been advocating for this too, like how you treat people, like you just don't know what other people are going through. I just want to bring this up. I was at Applebee's with my family, and the waitress, I came in after the fact, but apparently the waitress wasn't really doing her job. And when I walked in, they were like giving her attitude, like, oh, she can't hear, like just being real, just nasty. And I was just like, that's what we're not going to do. Like, you don't even know. I'm paying attention to the lady, and I'm seeing like she's older. I knew her from before. I've seen her before, and I've seen that she had got real skinny. And I just started praying for her internally, because I'm like, you don't know what people are going through, and you have like this sense of entitlement where you feel like it's okay to treat people a certain way. And who are you? Like, who are you? So I was like really like going off on everybody, like, y'all need to chill. Like, you don't even understand what this woman is going through at all. And I just started, like, I said what I said, and I just started being quiet. And I was praying to myself and praying for her. And it just made me think, like, man, like people really got life backwards. They really got life backwards. But yeah, I just want to add that.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, I just want to add on to what you said. It's probably about the church part, because it made me think about how maybe not all churches, but at least the churches that I have interacted and know about, they really, one thing they really harp on is like, oh, well, you're not dressed appropriately for church. Like, what does that mean? Like, if someone's supposed to be new to church, they don't know what they're supposed to dress like anyway, first of all. But also, like, we're not dressing how the Messiah dressed. So, like, maybe we aren't dressed how we're supposed to be dressed either. We don't know what that means. But the one thing that it is that they like to harp on people like, oh, they don't speak the right way as a Christian should speak, or they don't dress the right way a Christian should dress. But it's like, you don't say that in your workplace. You don't go up to your coworker and say, oh, well, you're not dressed how you're supposed to be dressed, so you need to get out of here. So it's like, why do we do that in the space where it's supposed to be a healing place for the people of Yah?
I wanted to add that is so true, because don't dare say, like, it's words. You can't even say words no more in the workplace. You can't even be polite no more. It's like the workspace is so, yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Izzy put in the chat, they're focused highly on man-made rules instead of the commands of Yah. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the beauty of that community, of where one is weak, the others may be strong. And so that's why we have to be strong and of one accord and of one mind in Yah when it comes to our community, so that we can support each other when there is support needed. Thank you for sharing that. And then Izzy put in the chat, am I my brother's keeper? With trees, they have a root system. So you can kind of see in that picture on the slide about the roots, they're all intertwined, interconnected with each other. So for trees, when they're in a forest or a garden, it's not just an isolated tree that's separate, but when they're in a forest or a garden together, they support each other. They're interconnected, and they operate in unity rather than as individuals. And so you have the underground networks, but they also share water and nutrients. And so that can show up for us as in, like, if someone needs prayer, that we work together and we pray. It can show up as if someone maybe is not excelling in this moment in one of the five elements, that we may be able to step and say, okay, well, I got you in this physical thing, and I'll support you in getting to the gym, going with you, whatever that might be. They also have it where the stronger trees support the weaker trees. So we kind of touched on that with when I'm having a struggle and someone else may be strong, to step in to support with prayer, with guidance, with advice, with wisdom. And so the trees are designed really to be a support system or a model for us for what Yah wants our community to be. But also with that, they also send warning signals to each other when there's pests or diseases. And so I look at that as, if you were given the gift of prophetic visions, and the Most High Yah gave you a vision, and you don't tell your brothers and sisters, you don't tell Yah's people about what's coming, then you're not sending your warning signals off. Or even if it's not prophetic, let's say your gift isn't prophetic visions. Let's say you read about a stock that's coming out that will be highly profitable. Let's say you hear about something in the news that's going to affect a shutdown or whatever it might be, but you may have read it or heard it, but you didn't tell your brothers and sisters. You're not sending warning signals. You're not being a good steward of your force and of your network. And so we have to become stronger when it comes to ensuring that we're all protected, that we're all working together, and hearing those warning signals because one person may hear it, but the other person may not have access to that same information. But also too, it helps with reducing the windbreak and a bunch of other stuff that are about protecting each other. But they, as it says in the last book, they're collaboratively growing together because they know that they can't grow without working together. And so they enrich the soil so that everyone can grow together in that tree. And this is when it's a unified root system. Now, with that, though, there's also invasive species that may come in, and that's that the opposition that may come in. So there could be species that shouldn't be in that forest, that shouldn't be in that garden. And when those do show up, so when our opposition do show up in our community, it causes harm. And so that's the same thing. Like if we have people in our lives that are causing harm, even though we're keeping them, because oh yeah, this is my person I've known for 10 years. This is my person I love, whatever it might be. This is my brother, my sister, my mother, my father. But if they're invasive species or someone doing harm, or someone who loves the world, then they basically start competing for resources. So that's your time, that's your talent, that's your treasure, that's your emotions, that's your spiritual battery. They start competing for your resources that should be going towards God's kingdom. They also can rapidly grow. That's that if you how we talked about earlier, where like they're always on the phone, like, oh, come out and part me, come out and do this, come out and do this. That's that rapid growth where they're always growing, they're always in your face, they're always trying to get your attention. And so that's what invasive species do when it comes to forests and gardens. But they also alter the chemicals of that soil that the trees are planted in. And by doing that, they, one, overconsume the water, but two, they prevent the actual trees that are in that kingdom or in that garden from growing. So they alter the soil so that the other trees can't continue to grow, so that the invasive species can take over that spot. So that's what the enemy's plan was. He wanted to become Yah, so he was cast out. The same thing when it comes to people in our lives, they want to take over our lives and become the main focus versus us having the unified front of going towards what Yah wants. But also, too, like we talked about last week about how our fruits are for others to be able to be brought into Yah. But when an invasive species comes in, it disrupts that fruit. And so it makes it so the fruit can't grow. It makes it so that that fruit maybe become poisonous. It makes it so the fruit become rots faster or becomes harmful. And so if you have a fruit on your tree that is rotten because it's not able to grow properly, and then a person eats it or an animal eats it, you're now poisoning that person because you chose to keep an invasive species in your community. And also it increases the risk of fire because of the friction between the different plant types. All right, but with that too, like let's look at the 5 elements of life as well as the kingdom. And so we have these 5 elements where we first start privately, internally, and then we do public work in those 5 elements. But when it comes to kingdom, as I said, like when one of us are weak, we support each other. We help share the burden. We help pray for each other. We work together in unity. If we look at the family structure, which we know family is very important to the Most High. So when a father and mother are strengthening themselves in the 5 elements or in the 5 aspects of life, they can then also nurture a sapling tree, so a small tree. So you may have the mother and father be like the big trees, the strong trees, who then nurture the sapling tree. But if the mother and father tree are weak or are of the world or are losing their fruit because of invasive species, they're not able to pour into the sapling tree. So then your children are being neglected from what they should get as resources. And then as if the final piece of it is when we allow invasive species or weeds, and yeah, I get it, you don't want to call family, friends, coworkers weeds, but in this situation, that's a weed. When they're people who love the world, when they love the world, not that they're in the world, but when they love the world and how the world operates, if you allow them to remain in the garden to take of our fruits, our time, our talent, our gifts, after y'all has tried to harvest them from your life, then we are allowing disease to spread towards y'all's kingdom. And so the question I have to end this out is, are you building or growing with people of y'all's kingdom, or are you building and growing with the people of the world's kingdom?
I think for me, like this is yet again another study where you just have to just analyze and really look at your life, look at your day to day, what you're allowing in your space, what are you spending your time on. Like, it's an analyzing type thing for me, especially. Like, I already felt the people that I used from this whole year. I'm gonna start with the whole year. I feel like this has been a year of isolation, for me, a year that a lot of people that I used to communicate with, used to talk to, um, that is just not the same no more. Um, a lot of people left my life, and not too many people has entered yet. And I feel like it's a reason, like I'm just understanding why it has been that way. And I love that every study it's like a confirmation for me. Like, just looking at this, how you know, like, this is all in alignment, because it's always a confirmation. It's always like an answer to a question that I may had previous from the previous day. So I really appreciate the word. I appreciate the tools, and just having those, like, and the analyzing moments that I'm about to have for this week. Because like I said before, like, it was already on me to do some more cutting. And I was talking to my brother yesterday. We were on the phone, and we were just talking about, like, how important it is to just be you. Like, people focus so much on what people think, say, and all this and that. And he's like, if God is telling you to do something and he's putting it on your heart to do it, ain't no thinking about it. Just do it. And don't care about what nobody has to say about anything. And guess what? You don't have to explain nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
Like, it will make your life so much simple. And like, just that, just hearing, I'm like, man, we like really overcomplicate our lives. Like, seriously. Like, when you be sitting here, you explain your actions to people to have their opinions, and the confusion comes in. Like, it's just really understanding so much for me. I just really appreciate this word. I really do.